So I get asked all the time how to pay off my debt very quick. So I paid off $76,000 of debt in 1 year and $304,000 debt in 5 years. And I've had 2,000 plus students pay off their debt 24 months quicker than they anticipated. There's a reason behind this. It's because I have a systematic approach to winning with finance. Everything I touch turns to gold when it comes to finance. And if you start to follow exactly what I preach, you will get the same results as well. So this question in particular starts off with understanding, what do I have cash flow wise to work with? I need to know my free cash flow. I'm assuming that you've already done this step. You've already taken the step because you follow me and you truly know what your true free cash flow is. But I'm going to show you really quickly on a budget tool that we use to calculate that. So I'm assuming you're zero-based budgeting. I'm assuming that you know your numbers inside and out. And I'm also assuming that you've gotten to this conclusion right here, that your fixed income is $10,000 or whatever it is. Obviously, input your own expenses. You have zero variable income in this situation. We have fixed and variable expenses of $7,000. There's no one-time expenses. And this is just the month of January as an example. And there's no savings and investments. So we'll zero that out. So therefore, my true free cash flow I'm able to work with is $3,000. Now, if you have 401k deductions and pre-tax deductions, you have to know how to adjust for that. And I'm not going to go into detail of that because I'm assuming that you follow me and you've watched all my content to this point to get to this conclusion. However, the point of this is to take away this $3,000 that I have and understand what should I do to best suit my goals. I want to achieve different goals. I want to pay off my debt, which is what we're talking about today. I might want to invest and, retire early. I might want to invest for my children. But if I don't know my free cash flow, then I don't know how, when I actually look at the tools, the debt tool or the compound interest calculator, to actually get that result. And now I know that. So let's just make an example. Obviously $3,000 here. Okay. Now, how to go back in here and pay off my debt quick is the other thing. So we need to use specific tools to do so. So I have two tools. One is a more manual approach and one is more automated approach. I like the manual because I can see the full picture together, but I'm going to give you guys both today in the show notes. So let's go into this example right here. So let's just say we have a $5,500 credit card debt. The term in the loan months, I kept that for 120. That's just because we have a default of a 10-year loan on this example here, but don't worry about the loan months here. And we have a 24% interest rate and we have a $165 minimum payment. Our starting balance and current loan balance right here is $5,500. Therefore, our progress is zero. Now, the question is, how long is this going to take? So there's two approaches. There's two tools. This is the manual approach, but I like this one a lot. And I go down here and I figure out where my next crossed off month is, and then it's month 56. So that's the manual approach. So I know it's going to take me 56 months. It's pretty straightforward, right? Now, if I don't want to do this and I want to use another tool, I can use my debt pay down strategist tool. So I enter my credit card, debt name, or whatever your debt is in particular. I enter my balance of $5,500. My interest rate's 24. My minimum payment is $165. I'm making no additional payment at least at this point in time. Again, my free cash flow, I'm calculating separately, or $3,000 in this example. But based on this plan, I can know exactly and precisely how long this is going to take. So just like we just calculated, that's going to be 56 months. So if you do the current plan, you have a high interest alert, obviously, because you're making a minimum payment. I do not recommend this, but again, it's just to see where you're currently at. Months until debt free, we just calculated it on the manual tool as well. Same exact answer you're going to get. Your total interest paid is $3,700. Not great. And your monthly interest cost is $110 out of the $165. Not great. Okay. So based on this, you're currently paying $110 in interest every month. That is sickening. The smart guy, Albert Einstein, said those that understand compound interest will earn it. Those that do not will pay it. So that's up to you if you want to learn and actually use this to your advantage so that you compound your wealth. And this is what we do and all my students do. And again, if you want to take your game to the next level, go in the show notes below and book a free call with my team. You have to be making over 6 figures. And you have to also be on board with your spouse if you have one. If not, come to call if you're single. That's all good. The second smart acceleration here is my strategic savings. So I'm going to put an extra up to $495 a month. So an extra $330 on top of this $165. And if I do so, it's going to actually make me debt free in 13 months, which is going to shed off a bunch of months. So if I want to go back to my debt payoff tool over here and I want to do my additional fixed monthly principal period right here, $330. And if you don't know the math to how to get to $330, it's just the $495 minus the $165. And that's how I get to $330. So I put that in here as my additional fixed monthly principal. And remember, this is principal extra payment. This is not towards my total payment, my interest and everything. It's just towards additional principal payment because I'm reducing my balance right off the bat. And so if I do so, you can see now all of a sudden these crossed off months just came up to month 13, which is exactly what I expected. So month 13, I pay this off officially, which is aligned with this and so on and so forth. And obviously you can see the fastest, the rapid payoff would be $990 a month, which would be a 6-month timeline. So you go from 56 months to 6 months by putting it to $990, which would be a difference of, if we do the math real fast, we can obviously do this math right here, and we would do 990 minus 165 is 825, and we go here and boom, There we go. Month 6 is crossed out, and that's exactly what's automatically happening for you over here. This is a manual tool, but it's also automatic as well. This whole entire piece down here is automated for you, so you don't have to worry about that. That's the beauty of this tool. And so now I make a $990 payment, $825 goes to additional fixed principal, and I pay this off in 6 months. This is one of the most encouraging tools you'll find because now you actually can see the reality of your picture. And most people just guess on their finances. They just guess in their numbers. They estimate in their head. They get all jumbled in their head and they get overwhelmed. And they never put this on paper. Now, I'm going to take this a step further in a second. So now that we know the actual result of our credit card payment of $5,500 at 24% interest rate and a minimum payment of $165, and then we can obviously pay the additional monthly payments here. These are our different results we can get. And of course, we can speed this up more with more cash flow. Obviously, if we put $3,000 that we have free to our specific situation, which was coming from the free cash flow over here, $3,000, you can see how these numbers adjust. This is a 2-month span essentially, because if you think about it, $3,000 additional principal payment on this, it's, less than 2 months even. So it's like right in between 1 and 1.5. And so as you can see, like this would speed you up a ton. Your total interest paid in this situation would be like $129. You basically pay it off today. And the beautiful thing about it is you want to be able to reduce this type of interest rate as fast as possible, this type of debt with this interest rate. So if you have anything above 6%, this is a guaranteed fixed return if you pay this off. This is why we aggressively pay off credit cards or anything above 6%, because this will kill you. There is no financial professional in this world that would say otherwise. This is not even up for debate unless you are a psychotic financial advisor and you want to hurt people intentionally. You won't do this. So as you can see here, guys, this is exactly how it would kind of play out. And so you can do it by debt here. But the cool thing is the waterfall analysis that I do over here. So let's just say we have multiple debts. I'm going to take this individual tab and I'm going to just duplicate it. As many debts as I have. I might have 3, I might have 2, I might have 28 debts. I'm going to make sure each one of these is laid out. And so let's just say I do a duplicate here and move a copy of the personal loan actual. So the first one I do, let's just say it's my credit card, number 1. Okay. My second one, let's just say it's a car loan. And let's just make this loan up on the spot. So let's just say this debt is a $10,000 debt. We have let's say a 5% interest rate. Let's say our minimum payment is basically $230 a month for 48 months is what I got this to. So you can go down here, you can see where it's paid off, 48 months, down to $16, close enough, right? Okay, so if I know that this is the case, I know right here, specifically in month 6, I am then done paying off this in particular debt. Okay, so not only does this $825 come back to me, but this $165 minimum monthly payment comes back to me as well. And therefore, I have $990 starting in month 7. That is because I paid off in month 6 officially. There might be some leftover. Again, let's start in month 7. So I know now this car loan isn't being paid off additional principal payment in the first 6 months. I know that because I'm using all my additional principal money towards this first debt. But once it becomes available and there's $990 back in my pocket, now I can start in month 7. So $990, $990, and I can go down obviously the pathway as far as I want. And as you can see, pretty much in month 14, I pay off this debt. And so what you're doing is transferring the minimum monthly payment of the previous debt plus that additional principal payment. You're waterfalling that into the second debt. So if you have a big debt payoff process that you want to pay off, credit card number 1, then once 6 months is up, you're paying the minimum payment the first 6 months here, obviously right here, minimum payment $230. That's distributed between principal and interest. Then month 7, that whole entire amount of cash flow comes back in your pocket, $990, and boom, my car loan begins $990 extra per month towards principal, and I pay that off by month 14, which is awesome. Month 13, month 14. So the beautiful thing about this is you can actually map this stuff out. There is no guessing. So if you have multiple debts, I should know specifically because I know how much cash flow I have to work with. I've already figured that out. And then I went over here into either my debt pay down strategist tool, did each one of them and kind of mapped them out on a piece of paper, or I really used, which I think is the better tool, is this manual tool where you actually see the month by month breakout. And so you don't just see a general overall. I think this one right here is more so like, hey, how do I quickly assess where I'm at generally? And then I think this tool is actually, hey, let's actually have a specific strategic plan behind this. And so if I know my credit card paid off in 6 months, I know that, right? So I go into my credit card statement or my credit card app and I automate this $825. This $825 is not going to be manually paid every month. You're adding that to as part of your budget. And we're going to get over there in a second to figure this out on the budget side of things. So 825, let's just say that's the case. Okay. So I go back over to my budget and I know I have $3,000 extra to work with. All I'm going to do here, this is manually inputted right now. Let's just say we add 7825 because the extra 25. Now I have my automated credit card payment coming out of this fixed and variable expenses, which then adjusts my true free cash flow after that debt payoff to 2175. And again, we could probably use that to speed this process up a lot quicker if we just use the full 3,000. I get that, but I'm just showing you how we connect the cash flow on the expense side of things within the budget versus the actual amortization schedule. This is a technical exercise, but the thing is, all finance is a math problem. Behind the emotion that you feel, it's all a logical math equation. And if you get the math equation, then you can actually set yourself up for success. Logical, sequential. I go into my credit card portal, I update my minimum monthly payment plus the additional principal payment to 825. I automate that. I know literally within 6 months it's going to be paid off based on basic math. And then once that's done, I have no minimum payment. I have no $825 payment. I will then cancel that because there's no reason to continue to pay additional principal payment to no balance. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, I'm going to go into my car portal. Let's just say it's at, Citizens Bank. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to figure out, okay, well, my car shows $230 minimum payment, but now I want to update this to $990 as an additional principal payment. So then what we would do is essentially this would be adjusted to $990. So instead of $78.25, this would now be $79.90. And then you can see, obviously, you have additional cash flow to work with. Obviously, you'd probably be speeding up your debt in this situation, but this shows you can allocate it elsewhere as well. So if you're like, hey, this car debt is 5%, it's not my best debt in the world, but 5% doesn't bug me and I really want to start investing. So maybe that extra 2,000 does go elsewhere. But until then, obviously a 24% interest rate, there is no debate that needs to be paid off ASAP. But now I can actually calculate this out. So people always ask me this question, like, how do I do this? It's a systematic approach. This is why I can't explain this just like on screen without explaining and showing you the actual tools I use to do so. And now this is a piece of the bigger picture. We need a balance sheet on top of this to list out all of our debts, all of our assets, understand our net worth. We also need to do other things like have our budget fully outlined. I obviously showed you the summaries tab of this budget, and I very much so estimated what's going on here just to show you for visualization purposes. And then obviously we need to outline everything within this amortization schedule. And then on top of that, we need to go automate this whole process behind the scenes. So once we get the math equation of understanding what extra payment goes where, we need to go into the portals. We need to automate that process. We need to know the timeline. We need to map those out. Maybe it's on a goal worksheet. Maybe it's on a whiteboard. My credit card debt's going to be paid off in 6 months. And then we check the box once it's done. We expect it. We know it. There is no debate that it's going to happen or not because it's automated. Okay. And then on top of that, we need a defined plan specifically to your situation that makes most sense of where to allocate our dollars. So in this example, I made a very easy example, meaning credit card, everybody's situation would be to pay this off. But maybe you just have the car loan of 5% and maybe you have different financial goals and maybe debt pay down isn't your number one thing. This is why when this question is asked generally, how to pay off debt quick, I have to ask a lot of questions. What are the interest rates? What are your goals? Where are you at? What's your free cash flow? Because there's so many variables to it. But once I know those variables, it's super simple to get to an actual answer. And so maybe your goal is to retire early, incorporate maybe a different tool into that compound interest calculator tool, some assumptions there. We need to build that into our expectations. We need to automate your investment accounts while we're also doing this. It just depends. But the thing is, these are the two tools I want you guys to use. And again, they're in the show notes below. And if you want to formulate a plan for you and your family once and for all, and really just simplify this whole entire process, book a call with my team right now. Do not wait on this opportunity. This opportunity will be the best investment you ever make in yourself. It is not a cost. If you look at it like that, you're not suited for this program anyway. So don't even waste your time. But if you look at this as an investment, it will be the best decision you ever make. And I hope to see you guys soon. And I hope you guys use these tools I provided in the show notes below to take your game to the next level, because this is how you do it. This is the fundamental approach to finance that will always have you winning, guaranteed. So with that being said, guys, I will see you next week, and I hope this was extremely helpful. Budget